At the end of the 1st century AD, the Roman Empire was facing turbulent times. The death of Emperor Trajan had left a power vacuum, and the succession did not bring the expected stability. The Senate, fragmented by rival factions, struggled to maintain order while external threats, such as the Germanic and Parthian tribes, pressed the borders of the vast empire. The streets of Rome, once a symbol of grandeur and prosperity, now reflected a city divided between the powerful aristocracy and the growing discontent of the middle and lower classes. It was in this troubled scenario that Marcus Valerius Lucanus emerged, a senator of humble origin, but with a respected lineage. Born in the small town of Veii, Marcus rose in the Roman hierarchy through his military talent and unwavering integrity. Known for his honesty and dedication to republican ideals, he quickly gained the trust of both the people and his peers in the Senate. His successful military campaigns against provincial rebellions and his ability to negotiate political agreements demonstrated his leadership capacity without the need for imperial titles. Marcus deeply valued the Roman Republic, believing that true power resided in the union of the Senate and the people, and not in a single ruler. His humility and desire to serve without personal ambitions made him an admired figure, but also susceptible to growing pressures in an empire on the verge of collapse. Determined to protect Rome without compromising his principles, Marcus prepared to face challenges that would test his loyalty and moral strength, shaping his destiny as the man who would eventually reject the imperial throne 3 times. Tensions in Rome continued to increase as a provincial rebellion, led by a corrupt governor, threatened to further destabilize the already fragile order of the empire. Marcus Valerius Lucanus, with his usual determination, was appointed to command the legions sent to quell the insurrection. The campaign was marked by brilliant strategies and inspiring leadership that not only defeated the rebels, but also restored order in the contested region. The victory was met with great relief and celebration in Rome. The streets were filled with citizens singing praises to Marcus, recognizing in him a savior capable of bringing peace in times of chaos. The Senate, pressured by generals anxious for stability and by citizens demanding strong leadership, saw in Marcus the ideal figure to take control of the empire. In an extraordinary session, the senators, accompanied by military leaders and influential citizens, formalized the offer for Marcus to become the next Roman emperor. Despite the acclaim and promises of greatness that came with the title, Marcus remained firm in his principles. In a public hearing, he thanked them for the recognition but refused the offer, explaining that his commitment was to the Republic and not to personal power. His response was received with a mixture of respect and perplexity. While many admired his integrity, others began to question his ability to lead without accepting the imperial title, planting the seeds for future challenges. Marcus Valerius Lucanus's refusal of the offer to become emperor created waves of reactions in Rome. While many citizens applauded his integrity and commitment to the Republic, others began to question his ability to lead without accepting the imperial title. In the corridors of the Senate, whispers and suspicious glances spread, signaling the beginning of a subtle division among the senators. Among those who doubted was Lucius Varro, an influential senator known for his ambition and desire to consolidate power. Varro began to quietly articulate against Marcus, arguing that Rome's stability depended on strong and centralized leadership. On the other hand, Senior Quintus, a loyal senator and longtime friend of Marcus, vehemently defended his colleague's decision, highlighting the importance of keeping republican values intact. In the public sphere, Marcus's image as an honest leader solidified. The streets of Rome frequently saw crowds gathered to honor him, and his popularity among the middle and lower classes grew exponentially. However, this admiration also attracted envy and resentment from some members of the aristocracy, who feared losing their influence in the face of such a respected leader. While Marcus continued to perform his military and political duties with the same dedication as always, the seeds of opposition began to germinate. Tensions within the Senate increased, and Marcus's first refusal proved to be only the prelude to even greater challenges that would come to test his determination and principles. As the months passed, tensions in Rome did not decrease. New threats arose both on the borders and within the very streets of the capital. Political factions continued to fight for control, and the population, increasingly anxious for stability, turned their gaze to Marcus Valerius Lucanus as the last hope for salvation. It was in this context that the Senate, realizing the growing dissatisfaction and the imminent risk of disintegration, reiterated the offer of emperor to Marcus. this time accompanied by promises of greater powers and personal benefits. The proposal came not only from senators, but also from veteran generals who had served alongside Marcus in various campaigns. They argued that his leadership was essential to unify the empire and face the external threats looming. Influential figures like General Gaius Aemilius made emotional appeals, highlighting Marcus's potential to restore Rome's greatness and ensure the safety of its citizens. Within himself, Marcus faced an intense internal conflict. He pondered whether accepting the title would truly stabilize Rome, or whether, on the contrary, it would perpetuate a cycle of tyranny and centralization of power that he so despised. Deep reflections on the legacy he would leave and the example he would set for future generations haunted him. Marcus recognized that, by accepting the emperor's title, he could effectively implement the necessary changes to save the empire, but this would mean abandoning his republican principles. After nights of intense contemplation and advice from Senior Quintus, Marcus made his decision. In a new public hearing, he again thanked them for the recognition and trust placed in him, but reaffirmed his refusal. He explained that his unwavering commitment was to the Republic, and that believing in the power of the Senate and the people was fundamental to Rome's true strength. His second refusal was met with a mixture of relief by some and growing frustration by others, especially among those who saw him as the only real hope for the empire's survival. Marcus's decision not only reinforced his integrity, but also intensified the divisions within the Senate. While some senators still supported him, others, led by Lucius Varro, saw his refusal as an insurmountable obstacle to Rome's stability. The tension increased, and the path to unity for the empire seemed increasingly tortuous. The following months brought even greater challenges for the Roman Empire. The borders continued to be under constant pressure from the Germanic tribes, while within Rome, political instability grew as rival factions fought for control of the Senate. The economy was in decline, and the population suffered from increased taxes and shortages of basic resources. In this environment of crisis, the leadership of Marcus Valerius Lucanus became more crucial than ever. In response to the growing disorder, the Senate convened an extraordinary session, recognizing that Rome's stability depended on strong and unified leadership. It was in this context that the second offer of imperial command was presented to Marcus. This time, the proposal came with substantial promises: greater executive powers, benefits for his family, and guarantees of unconditional support from the main political and military factions. Unlike the first offer, this second proposal sought not only to honor Marcus with the title of emperor, but also to ensure that he would have the necessary resources to implement comprehensive reforms and face the imminent threats effectively. Veteran generals like Gaius Aemilius and influential senators led the efforts to persuade Marcus, appealing both to his responsibility to the empire and to the well-being of his family and legacy. Despite the intensified pressure and the desperate circumstances, Marcus remained firm in his republican principles. His reputation as an honest leader dedicated to the Republic led him to ponder deeply on the offer, balancing the desire to save Rome with the need to uphold his core values. The summer of the following year brought with it a storm of challenges that threatened the very essence of Rome. The Germanic tribes, now united under a charismatic and strategic leader, launched a massive invasion that seemed impossible to contain. The Roman legions, already worn out from constant campaigns, struggled to resist the relentless pressure from enemy forces. Within the capital, chaos reigned. Fires ravaged entire neighborhoods, and the population, desperate, clamored for a saving leadership. At the epicenter of this crisis, the Senate convened one last, desperate, extraordinary session. The gravity of the situation made it clear that Rome's survival depended on an immediate decision. It was at this critical moment that the third offer was formally presented to Marcus Valerius Lucanus. Unlike the previous proposals, this third offer came laden with emotional and urgent appeals, promises of immense military and political power, guarantees of security for his family, and the possibility of implementing profound reforms to ensure the empire's longevity. Close friends, family members, and even ordinary citizens turned to Marcus, begging him to accept the imperial title to save the city he so loved. His wife, Lucia Valeria, tears in her eyes, held his hand and whispered words of encouragement, while generals like Gaius Aemilius gave passionate speeches about the need for unified leadership. The pressure reached its peak as the walls of Rome began to show signs of crumbling under the enemy's advance. The streets were filled with exhausted soldiers and fearful citizens, each placing their hopes on Marcus's decisions. In a tumultuous public assembly, he once again stood up to face the crowd, aware that this was the last opportunity to shape Rome's destiny. As the Germanic tribes advanced inexorably, the defenses of Rome began to falter. The streets, once bustling, were now permeated by an atmosphere of despair and urgency. Marcus Valerius Lucanus, though deeply pressured, remained steadfast in his conviction. Amid the chaos, he knew this would be the last opportunity to shape Rome's future without compromising his principles. During a tumultuous public assembly, with the walls of Rome cracking under the weight of external and internal battles, Marcus spoke once more. His voice, though tired, resonated with a firmness that captured the attention of all present. "Rome does not need an emperor to be great," he declared, looking directly at the anxious crowd. "The true strength of our republic lies in the union of the Senate and the people. We will not allow power to be concentrated in the hands of one man." His third refusal was accompanied by a symbolic gesture. Marcus withdrew from the thrones and symbols of power, demonstrating his commitment to the Republican cause. In an act of personal sacrifice, he decided to retire from public life, dedicating himself fully to civil efforts to organize the defense and reconstruction of Rome. His wife, Lucia Valeria, and his close allies supported his decision, recognizing that his withdrawal could be the necessary catalyst for the Senate's unity. The population reacted mixedly. Many applauded his integrity and selflessness, seeing in him a true Republican hero. Others, fueled by fear and the desperate need for leadership, began to lose faith in his ability to save the empire without the imperial title. However, Marcus remained resolute, believing that his personal sacrifice would inspire a true renewal of Roman values and strengthen the republican structure in times of crisis. With the Germanic tribes finally repelled and the immediate threat receded, Rome began to rebuild from the scars left by the war. The Senate, previously divided and filled with mistrust, found a new unity inspired by the example of Marcus Valerius Lucanus. Though he had refused the imperial title for the third time, his influence remained palpable in every decision made to restore order and prosperity to the empire. Marcus dedicated himself tirelessly to civil efforts, organizing urban reconstruction, revitalizing the economy, and promoting administrative reforms that strengthened the Senate and the people's participation in government decisions. His quiet leadership, based on collaboration and mutual respect, served as a model for new leaders seeking to balance power and responsibility. Marcus's impact extended beyond his own life. He established institutions that ensured greater transparency and accountability in government, preventing the concentration of power that had threatened the Republic. His actions fostered an era of renewal, where Republican values were revitalized and appreciated by all social classes. However, Marcus's true legacy was in the inspiration he provided to future generations. Stories of his integrity, humility, and dedication to the Republic were told and retold, serving as lessons in ethics and leadership. Young senators and generals looked to his trajectory as a beacon of how to serve the common good above personal ambitions. Years later, Marcus Valerius Lucanus became an emblematic figure in Rome's history. Monuments and squares were erected in his honor, and his memory endured as that of a true Republican hero. The stability achieved after his successive refusals of the imperial throne consolidated the belief that Rome's true strength lay in its democratic structure and the union of its citizens. Marcus's story not only saved Rome from potential dictatorship, but also reaffirmed the principles that defined the empire's greatness. His life became a testament to the fact that true leadership does not reside in absolute power, but in the ability to inspire, sacrifice, and serve with integrity. Thus, the legacy of Marcus Valerius Lucanus endured, ensuring that the Roman Republic continued to shine as an example of ethical and resilient governance through the centuries. Subscribe for more videos of incredible stories.